What is up, guys? Stu here. Time for another one from the London Film Festival. Today we're talking about Terrence Malick's latest film, A Hidden Life, which is one which I've been incredibly excited to check out because it's been getting quite a bit of buzz from wherever it's been showing. A lot of talk about it being Malick's return to form. So I went and checked it out, and it's pretty much that. I mean, the easiest review of all time. That's it. Done. Yeah, it's what everyone said it was. Cool. See you later, guys. I will elaborate because content. So it's hard to disagree with the fact that Terrence Malick as a director has been slipping around a little bit in the latter half of his filmography. I mean, even as a Terrence Malick fan myself, I'm not going to sit here and say I've enjoyed most of the films that he did post Tree of Life, because it sort of got harder and harder to defend this guy against claims that he's just one of the most pretentious things in cinema. He started shooting without scripts, and gradually we started to see his films become, well, less narrative pieces and more just people walking around spaces with husky voiceover. But here I guess he's gone back to a kind of more conventional way of making films. It's got a script, which is always a bit of a bonus. It's got a narrative that comes with that, and it's based on a true story. And it's definitely a step in the right direction. I really, really enjoyed this film. I thought it was fantastic. It stars August Diehl and Valerie Pachner as this couple in Austria who are living in a very isolated region. They live and work on this farm. It's all they know. And then the husband gets drafted in the war that's happening around them. And one of the things you had to do if you wanted to pick up a gun and go run around and shoot some folks in the war was pledge your allegiance to the country you're fighting for, and on top of that, Hitler, the dude running your country. And this guy didn't want to do it. He refused to, and so the film's looking at the sort of toll that takes on a person, because as you can imagine, the Nazis weren't just like, alright, cool, sweet, just go hang out and do what you want to do. We'll just get on with our days. Shouldn't come as a surprise that they did the opposite of that. But the central performances here from Diehl and Pachner as this couple are certainly one of the main things that keeps you hooked throughout this film. Simply put, they're fucking amazing. They are brilliant. This is the best work I've seen from August Diehl, but alongside him as his wife, Valerie Pachner is fucking outstanding. It's a very emotional performance from her because, as you can tell, her husband is being taken away from her. There's a lot of time without him. She does a fantastic job getting into the mind of a character that's going through that and exploring what it would do to someone who only knows that life and suddenly has it ripped away from them. Both of them are killing it. Love the performances here. But on top of that, it's a Malick film, and if there's one thing that everyone I think can universally agree on, it's that despite how pretentious some people might find his work, it always looks gosh darn delicious. This continues that trend. It is a beautiful film. I mean, the landscape and the scenery, for one, that the characters find themselves in throughout this film is impeccably photographed. It just looks stunning. As you'd expect from a Terrence Malick film, the camera does a lot of floating around its scenery and floating around the scenes between characters, and so you get some really interesting movements. If you're someone that's found that particularly jarring in a lot of his other films, I hate to break it to you, but this isn't going to be the one that makes you go, oh, I kind of like that now. But I was impressed at how restrained it feels for a Terrence Malick film. Yes, there's all of the floaty camera work in there. Yes, there's a lot of husky voiceover. The film is told through moments of dialogue, but mainly through a lot of that voiceover we've come to expect from him. But it's just proof that when you pair that with an actual narrative and you allow us to get involved with these characters with brilliant performances, it's so much more rewarding and so much more impactful. It's just nice to see a lot of the things I loved about Terrence Malick's early works back here on the forefront. I found it infinitely more effective than a lot of his later films. This was a really impactful and powerful film. I don't want to spoil too much about what happened to this guy, but it goes to some really dark places. And after a lot of the groundwork for these characters is placed, the final act of this film is incredibly harrowing, incredibly emotional, and incredibly moving. I was weeping by the end of this one, so it absolutely did its job there. I will say it feels quite long. It's about 3 hours, this one, so it ain't short. And whereas a film like The Irishman absolutely flew through for me and it had a longer runtime than this one, you definitely do feel that runtime at certain points, particularly in the first act, the first hour of this one, which can be a little bit slow to get into. And I think it's at that first hour where a lot of the things that you might find frustrating about Terrence Malick's work are popping their head up. Before this guy actually gets drafted to the war and before that narrative plot point ends up happening, we are just kind of watching a lot of the same shit over and over. I didn't find that to be terrible, but it certainly does feel a little bit like there's only so many times we can watch this couple roll around in the grass in the hills in Austria. But I'm not gonna lie, I feel like you could definitely trim that, and there are many points in this film we could just cut down and tighten down a bit, and you'd still end up getting the same impact that we ended up getting anyway from the film. I guess in a weird way though, it sort of wouldn't really feel like a Malick film if he didn't have a chance to indulge himself in all of the stuff he loves to indulge himself in. It's got a stunning score as well from James Newton Howard here. I found the music in this one to play such a big part in getting me swept up in everything that's going on. It's just one of the many tools that Malick uses so well here to be able to make his sort of typical dreamlike, more experimental approach to filmmaking feel a little bit more impactful and a little bit more engaging. Overall, it feels refreshing to sit down in a Malick film and feel a lot of emotions and not constantly be wondering what he's trying to go for. So yeah, consider this me throwing my voice onto the pile of other people that are already saying this, but it definitely feels like Malick is back on form here. But what about you guys? Have you managed to check out A Hidden Life yet? Let me know what you thought about it down in the comments below, and we'll talk about all the lovely floaty camera work, or we'll talk about how pretentious he is. Who knows? It could go either way. As usual, if you enjoyed this video and you do want to see me talk about more shit, please consider clicking subscribe, hitting the like button, hitting the bell icon. Whatever you gotta do, do it. See you guys tomorrow for another one from the festival, but until next time, stay beautiful, mother truckers.